Valgavoth Terror Eater is pretty damn good. It's a 9 mana 9/9 with flying and lifelink, and it has ward where you have to sack 3 permanents. Bearing in mind, if you don't have 3 non-land permanents in play, you can't pay the war cost, and thus it's basically hexproof in a lot of formats, similar to Vein Ripper that we've seen before. But what if I told you with Valgavoth you could draw your opponent's entire library via its second and third line of text, where you exile things going into the bin and can play them for life? It's some sort of wild card advantage engine that uses a very unique space and has some bonuses, Citadel sort of engine stuff stuck to the back end of it as well. This card is sweet. Now, to be abundantly clear, we're not going to cast a 9-drop. That would be insane. Who does that in Magic? Instead, we're going to reanimate Valgavoth. And if we struggle to reanimate Valgavoth, we've got Atraxa as our backup. We have 8 things to reanimate. This list is a big shout out to Saffron Olive, who posted a dump of loads of different deck lists to play in the early access event. I had less than 24 hours to prep for this and had to finish another video as well, so I actually had nothing prepared for this because I didn't know I'd be in early access. So shout out to Wizards of the Coast for involving me in this event as well. I thoroughly enjoyed playing with Duskmourn, played some great games. So the deck sucks, it's completely Saffron Olive's fault. On that note, the deck is really simple. We're going to mill ourselves with Picklock Prankster, Falagi Archaeologist, and then we're going to reanimate with Rites of the Moth. This is Unburial Rites, but worse, which is an interesting place to be. Unburial Rites used to be 5 mana and 4 mana. This is 4 mana and 6 mana, but more color intensive, and it puts a finality counter on your creature. They're playing it very safe compared to Unburial Rites. Honestly, I think making the flashback cost more than the original cost makes more sense for this kind of thing. The reason that Unburial Rites was so good previously, back in the day, for the first standard that I really took seriously, was that you could self-mill your Fatty and the Unburial Rites into the bin. You could gift sign given them both into the bin in other formats too. So they are playing it safe here, and I'm okay with them playing it safe and not fucking magic up. Our reanimation spell beyond Rite of the Moth is 3 copies of Cruelty of Gix, which can be a Hat Disruption spell, a tutor, and also a reanimation spell, and it has a read ahead, so we can pick any one of the 3 modes we need. And then if we end up with Valgavoth and Atraxa stuck in hand, we have 2 ways to get it out of our hand. Overlord of the Flood Pits, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, just draws 2 and discards 1, and we can impend it for 3 mana earlier on. And we also have Bitter Triumph, a sweet removal spell that, discarding to the card's secondary sort of additional cost, is not a downside if we're trying to put a Fatty in the bin. Well of the Forgotten is our last sort of cantripping interaction spell. It can bounce the thing, it can make an opponent discard, or we can just look at the top 3 cards of our library and put some of them into the graveyard, so we can take the reanimation spell and put the other spells into the bin. Oh, the spells, I mean the fatties, the creatures. Imagine it's confusing when everything's a spell. Picklock Prankster is also pretty neat that the mill mode also puts a Rite of the Moth into your hand. So if you mill it into the bin, it's not the end of the world because the flashback cost, but rather put it into hand and cast it for 4 mana on the following turn. It's a pretty sweet little bit of synergy there. If you like the video, let me know in the comment section below what you'd like to see more of on the channel, including standard gameplay. And if you're looking to pick up any single product or seal product, if you order from CoolStuffInc.com, not only does it support the channel and the content that I make, but if you use the code KENOBI at checkout or use the link in the description below, you get one of these free Orc Army tokens that depicts me fighting back against the hordes of darkness, complete with a hand made out of a milk carton, because I am the milkiest man in esports entertainment. And if you also order from Cool Stuff Inc., you will get one of these cool stickers in there as well, including the Summoning Sick and also Summoning Tired sticker that speaks to me on a fundamental level. Game time. So we're playing a little bit more Reanimator. I don't have a discard outlet in hand. The Cruelty of Gix can't even target yourself. Cringe. I guess we'll still go with it. We're gonna draw something. This might be a mistake. We are reanimating big fatties such as Atraxa, but also the new hotness, which is Valgavoth Terror Eater, a 9 mana 9/9 with a lot of text. I'm not going to read all that text to you right now because our opponent is waiting for us, but I'll read it when it gets into play. Hell, I might have done it in the intro already. Our opponent appears to be on the new Manifest deck, or Manifest Dread deck, should I say. We're going to grab a blue source here. This card draws them a card and discards them a card, or if they have Manifest Dread, they just draw a card. Pretty good for a 2 mana 2/3. Power creep gone mad, am I right? We're going to go Underground River here into Falagi Archaeologist. Dump some stuff in the bin. We don't get a thing off of it, but we do get to put Valgavoth in the bin. So now we're just looking for our 4 mana Reanimator spell. I'll block the 2/3 here and conserve some life. Picklock Prankster does mill and help us to put the Reanimator spell back into hand. The Reanimator spell being the strictly worse Unburial Rites, which is crazy to me in the contemporary climate that we can't have a more powerful Unburial Rites. It's more color intensive and it costs more mana. It's called like Way of the Moth or something. We're going to mill 4 cards and then put, there we go, Rite of the Moth into the bin, but we'll put Rite of the Moth into our hand. So we're casting it next turn. We'll play Darkslick Shores. We'll say No attacks and keep blocking. I'll put made this everywhere token off of the Overlord of the Hauntwoods, and they cast a hard cast one as well. I love the art on this. These like tendrily little worm things coming out of this door. I'm hot for it. End of turn, they draw a card. They got a 6/5 in play, but we're about to get a Valgavoth. Valgavoth's a pretty damn good magic card, if I do say so myself. So we're gonna crack this and go find our planes. If we're playing one planes in our deck, I'm gonna be upset. Fuck. That's Saffron Olive's fault. Oh god, that's bad. Okay, never mind. We'll get Valgavoth next turn. Jesus Christ, that's so bad. We're gonna play a Picklock Prankster as a blocker. And we'll just discard a card and kill this 6/5 so they can't keep making it. It makes a land every time it attacks, by the way, a land token. Big fan of them finally doing land tokens somewhere. We'll discard a Traxxer, kill that with Bitter Triumph, and say no attacks and pass back to them. They've got 4 cards in hand, they've got access to 6 mana. We absolutely potted our turn to the sun because the only planes we have is in our hand. Like I've probably mentioned already, I got these deck lists from the very useful dump that Saffron Olive put on Twitter. I was very late to the early access. I didn't know I was going to have access to it until less than 24 hours in advance. So, big shout out to Seth for doing that. But I'll be honest, this deck needs a second planes, right? 2 4/4s out of it. That's pretty good. Now, they're probably wondering why I didn't cast this. They're going to realise that the planes is in our hand now. We're going to Rite of the Moth, and we're going to bring back Valgavoth. Valgavoth has a finality counter right now because of Rites of the Moth. But importantly, it's got lifelink, it's got flying, it's got a ward, sack 3 non-land permanents, and if a card you didn't control we put into a grave from any way you exile it instead, then Valgavoth can help you cast it on your turn, but you pay life instead of mana. That means Fabled Passages too. That means anything that they mill, or gets killed, or they discard, or they cast and goes to the graveyard, all of it goes under Valgavoth and becomes a resource for you in your turn. They're playing a Abhorrent Oculus. This card is sweet. It's a 5 mana, it's a 3 mana 5/5, should I say. In order to cast it, you exile 6 cards from your graveyard. Beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest Dread. So you get a body every single turn. They're going quite wide, like really wide. They milled there off of Kellen or discarded. Either way, they gave us a land drop. They're going to manifest Dread. Sure. We're going to find obvious Bookworm into the exile zone from somewhere. What did Kellen do? It did something. Play Yavimaya Coast. We can't quite cast Rites of the Moth because we don't have a second white source right now. But we can cast the Cruelty of Gix. So I think we just do that. I'm going to read ahead to section 3. We're just going to go to our graveyard and put the Traxxer into play, right? That seems pretty strong. Go and get, I don't know, a Cruelty of Gix, a farmyard. No, Flood Farm, and an Pickpocket Prankster instead of the Archaeologist. We only drew 3 cards off a Traxxer. What is this? Now, remember, Valgavoth allows us to cast things for life. So we're going to cast Oblivious Bookworm here for 2 life. Go to combat attack for 9 in the air. This will gain us 9, which will put us to 27, which is a pretty safe spot to be in. They're now on 10. Beginning of our turn, we're going to take an action of drawing the Bookworm, and then we'll just discard another Valgavoth. We don't need another one in hand, I don't think, especially as we've got Cruelty of Gix in our hand. We're going to put a Traxxer back in our hand, which makes their attacks a bit better, honestly. We'll be chumping a lot of damage here to keep ourselves nice and padded. They're going to ward 3 on Valgavoth here, which means sacking 3 currently in play permanents. Valgavoth will go back to hand. The finality counter only cares about if it dies. Doesn't matter if it comes into play. They've just revealed... There's a reveal there for like a Psychic Frog thing, but it's disappeared. Here comes a big Slammer Jam. So we're going to go ahead and block like so. No, this guy's going to stay alive. This guy's going to go here. This guy's going to go here. We'll take 10. Go to 18. We're going to Manifest Dread. We're going to play the Flood Farm. We're going to play Cruelty of Gix because it leaves us with 2 mana here to be able to play Bitter Triumph. This is going to bring back the Valgavoth in our yard. And then we'll go ahead and we'll hold up Bitter Triumph with a discard. No attacks. We're going to end the turn. We're going to discard, taking action here to... Yeah, we'll discard a Scry land. We don't need that. There's probably an argument for putting another thing in the bin, but we do have a Valgavoth in the bin already. Maybe put the attraction in the bin was the correct line there. If they can bounce Valgavoth again, it means we aren't gaining 9 life this combat. But then they have to sack 3 bodies, which removes a lot of the board presence they currently have. And then we'll be able to Bitter Triumph the biggest thing they've got, either the Overlord of the Hauntwood or the Abhorrent Oculus, as it keeps making them a 2/2. And then we'll be in a pretty good spot for the following turn where we can either hard cast a Valgavoth, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, maybe not. We're still... Valgavoth's very expensive. Or would be able to reanimate one if we drew a reanimator spell. We've got Rite of Moth, double them in the bin. And a second white source thanks to the Flood Farm Verge as well. When did they get to Abhorrent Oculus? I wasn't really paying attention. Did they just copy it? Oh, there it is. There's the Dream Do Enhance. It's in the Exile Zone. So we go to combat now. And then they're going to go to my turn. I'm going to use Bitter Triumph here, discarding a card. And we're going to kill one of the Oculus, because it keeps making them bodies. We don't like that. We'll take 1 damage here. We're going to put a Traxor in the bin. Killing the Overlord actually allows us to cast it next turn for 3 life, which is pretty good. Under the Valgavoth it goes. They manifest Dread. It makes a 2-2. Sure. We get an island off of them. Play the island. We play the Rite of the Moth. We get back a Traxor. This deck is so sweet. I mean, as long as your opponent isn't playing like mono red or red black, those decks will run you over pretty hard. I mean, you only get to make a lifelinker on like turn 4 or whatever. We'll get Bitter Triumph. We'll get a Picklock Prankster. We'll get a Surveil Land. We'll get a Whale of the Forgotten as well. We still have 2 mana left. We'll go Oculus. Exile 6 cards from our bin. Sure, we're just going to do lands here. Cost 3 life and 6 cards from exile. There's a 3 mana 5/5 with flying. And it manifests in their turn. We will be getting into the red zone again. I guess if they then bounce a Traxor, we only have 2 blockers. We will be on 24. But they have a lot of damage in play. We do have a removal spell, though. I guess we just kill them next turn. Yeah, we're going to say no attacks and kill them next turn. We're going to draw a card off of Oblivious Bookworm and discard another Valgavoth. Probably shouldn't be discarding that now that I can cast it next turn. We'll kill them in the air next turn. We're going to Manifest Dread, sure. I guess you would have had another blocker from Abhorrent Oculus, so maybe just get into... But it only puts them to 1, so it doesn't really do, like, you know, what you want it to do. We're going to pay 3 life here and exile target enchantment off of Valgavoth and the breakdown of the door. We're on 11. We'll discard 3 cards. We'll discard this land, and a Prankster. We Manifest Dread. We're going to put the Overlord into play as a 2-2. I do like the Manifest Dread mechanic. It is evidently a power creep Manifest mechanic, but that's kind of where we're at, right? That's magic. Good game. Good game. There is Reanimator into the new face down manifest deck. That deck is more of a value town, sort of go wide deck. And our deck is just make the biggest lifelinker you can. That makes you huge amounts of card advantage and hope that's good enough. For our next round, I was not recording audio last night because I was playing whilst my baby was asleep, so I didn't want to wake them up. We play into Mill, who mills a Valgavoth into our bin, and we just reanimate it on turn 4. Mill doesn't seem like the hottest thing to play into Valgavoth Reanimator because it just sets up the Valgavoth Reanimator. But more interestingly, there's a really fun interaction with Valgavoth Reanimator here. They are playing Mind Skinner at 10-1 that turns all damage sources you control into Mill. Now, when you mill your opponent with Valgavoth in play, you put the cards underneath Valgavoth and you can cast them, right? So what happens here is we're going to hit them for 9. We won't gain the life because the damage is prevented by the Mind Skinner. But what will happen is 9 of our opponent's deck will go underneath Valgavoth. We're then going to cast a Jace the Perfected Mind. And we're now on the plan that it's probably not the right way to go about it. We probably shouldn't, we should probably just kill them with combat damage. But I'm here to mill my opponent out. To prove to them that, look at me, I'm the mill deck now. We shrink the front edge of the Cruel Somnophage. No, we don't. We shrink the front end of the Overlord of Baelmurk, and then we Bitter Triumph the Cruel Somnophage, leaving them with basically a board set that doesn't look very good into the face of our 19 power of milling goodness. And then we just make them discard a card, bounce the Overlord as well. And when they discard the card, it will go under Valgavoth as well. We're in the early access event, so instead of my opponent just being like, well, fuck, I guess this matchup is terrible, they instead get to keep going so that we can at least see what this deck can do on full power against the mill deck. Our opponent kills the Mind Skinner, which does stop us from being able to proceed with the full-on mill plan. However, when they kill it, it goes back underneath Valgavoth, so we can recast it for the low cost of 3 life. Also, Overlord of the Baelmurk milling you into a Valgavoth is also bad. Also not for this matchup, but when you Manifest Dread and put 1 card into the bin, it goes into exile instead underneath the Valgavoth. So Valgavoth eats the fear that you don't end up manifesting into a creature, which I think is beautifully flavorful. So here we mill our opponent for 6 times 3, which is quick maths. It's more than 10. And it puts loads of cards under our Valgavoth. I think I was digging for another Mind Skinner without actually realizing that the previous Mind Skinner was back under Valgavoth. So we pay 3 life for a Mind Skinner. We pay 4 mana, 5 mana for a Jace. I forget how much it costs. We hit them for 9 to put 9 more cards underneath our Valgavoth. And this leaves them with a grand total of 4 cards in library. So we activate Perfected Mind again, almost paying 0 by accident because I can't click because I'm a moron. We pay 5 times 3, which is 15. Well, we pay 5, and it does 5 times 3 worth of milling. An opponent who is playing mill has been milled down. That'll teach you. That'll learn you, opponent. Welcome to the Valgavoth Reanimator, baby! I hope you enjoyed this trip down Valgavoth Reanimator Town. Deck's pretty sweet. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Use Cool Stuff Inc. to pick up your cards, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ta for now.